through that process is how many people engage in self-promotion, thinking that going up the ladder means stepping over people in the process and making it a look at me kind of a process, if you will. And I realized that wasn't the way to go. Coming from team sports, again, all truth being parallel, that which I learned in the natural world, I come from team sports where it's about the group. Our coach had a sign over the door. This is instructive in terms of what I learned in corporate America. And the sign said, check your ego at the door. Subordinate your own personal desires for the good of the team. Whatever your God-given talent is, use it for the good of the team. And to me, that kind of equates to what's in Ephesians 4 and 11, I believe it is, 11 through 18, where it says, it talks about the human body, the whole body fitly joined together, where every joint supplies for the good working of the whole body. And that's what I learned in team sports. Well, apply that in life as well, too. When I was blessed to move up and have a sales team, it's about the team. You know, esteeming others above yourself. In the natural world, people say, well, a rising tide lifts all ships. Well, if you're doing your part as a part of the whole team, then the entire team is lifted up. So once I moved into broadcasting, I applied the same principle, blessed to be able to work in a studio with others. And it's not about me, it's about the team. Find out what their strengths are. Play to their strengths, maximize their strengths, minimize the weaknesses, and the entire team will benefit from that attitude, if you will, and that's what I've done. And many people have a contrary attitude to that in the game of life, thinking, hey, no, look at me.
You had an interesting conversation, and I just remember the takeaway from it. You got to get off the scholarship mentality.
Ooh, wow.
And I think there's a lot of that in American culture today, that somehow we're entitled to certain things. And you had to get through that, and I just admire how you brought that into broadcasting, where how can I bring value to what I'm doing that's over and above? How much of a turning point was that for you?
Very significant. By the way, can I take you on a book tour with me? You're awfully good. Wow, you digested all that. But then again, from a Yale Law School graduate, I guess I should do that. I shouldn't be surprised, right? But that was significant, Gordon. The experience you're referencing, I was working in corporate America, freelancing and broadcasting, had a chance to move into the broadcast arena full time, but was a little concerned because everybody kept telling me how tenuous an environment that was. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute now, I don't necessarily want to make this move if there's nothing solid there. So I went to
looking for the guarantee.
Oh, absolutely. So
is there a long-term contract there?
Absolutely. You know, I had to have something guaranteed. You know, this job has to be secure. And I remember talking to the former great boxer, Sugar Ray Leonard, his attorney, Mike Traynor, getting some advice from him. And he looked me in the eye just like you are, and he says, you know what? You're operating with a scholarship mentality. You want a guarantee in life, don't you? A security blanket, a safety net that's there. He says, young man, the only guarantee that you have in terms of your success is what ability and talent you bring to the table. That's your guarantee in any pursuit. If you bring talent and value to the table, wherever you are, that's your security. And it really resonated. That was a seminal moment in my life. And I said, you know what? Let me go for it, because I don't want to look back, you know, however many years later to say what could have, should have, would have been.
I missed the opportunity. But you worked at it. I mean, broadcasting didn't come easy, not that it comes easy to anybody. But you really worked at it. Tell us about what kind of discipline do you bring to broadcasting?
Pretty much the same that I did when I was playing basketball, because I remember my high school coach, Morgan Wooten, asking, you know, do you want to be an all-county player? Do you want to be an all-state player? Do you want to be an All-America? Each level brings with it additional responsibilities and work associated with getting to that higher level. I've applied that same thing in broadcasting. So if it means being conversant with whatever the headlines and topics of the day are, because I didn't play football despite looking the part, Gordon, you know, guys would tease me, wait a minute.
You look it, but
yeah,
no,
basketball, you were 180 pounds, and now I'm weighing 280 pounds, you know. So I had to work at it to make sure I understood what the topics were of interest for that given week, understanding each player's responsibility, what the coaching philosophy of that team was, et cetera, et cetera. So as to make sure that I was well schooled in that, to talk to the guys who were the experts, those who either played the game or coached the game, all for the purpose of being able to ask relevant, knowledgeable and intelligent questions of them to help them look good. Because if I could elicit from them the best, then we could set the stage for the viewers who are watching our show to be prepared for the game that they were going to watch. So again, when I talk about the role of a lifetime, my role is to be a good point guard or a good assist man or a good quarterback to set everyone else up to do well. And I had to work at that. When I was here many years ago,
well,
thank you very much.
I'm telling you, I pick up pointers from you. Just how you handle throws. And most people don't understand, when you've got 4 people on a panel, keeping all 4 active and involved is really hard.
Especially when they want a lot of airtime, you know?
Especially when they got big egos, too. And all of them successful, and they all have an opinion.
I'm not going to call a name, but there was one guy I worked with previously. If he was to be given 30 or 45 seconds to respond to something, but one of the other co-hosts took a lot of his time, he would look at me off camera, and he'd point to the clock like, you know, my time, I'm coming there, I'm coming there.
But I love how you do it, because you really do serve them up.
Yes. And you know, and that's key, because if they feel good that you've elicited as much from
and
them.
You've included them.
Absolutely. Then it makes the whole team feel good. And even if it meant me being, in the vernacular, the butt of jokes with guys, you know. When I was at Fox, you know, Terry Bradshaw used to love wearing me out with humor. Like, and it was all good. I could handle it. Sometimes I felt a little small, which is hard to do, because he'd come at me so good.
That's where forgiveness comes in.
Boy, do I exercise a maximum amount of forgiveness, too. And then at CBS, it's the same thing with Shannon Sharp and Boomer Esiason and Dan Marino. Coach Bill Cowher is wonderful, because he brings kind of an evenness to the approach as well, too. So I love having him there, because he's my go-to guy.
Does your Christian witness, do people come to you now looking for counsel, looking for prayer?
Wow, great question, Gordon. I remember back when I was at Fox, at times, you know, you may feel like, well, gosh, am I really kind of a square in this environment? Although I'm perfectly fine with it, because I understand how serious the walk is and what is important at the end, because we have to give account of everything we say and do at the end. So I recognize the game of life, you know, is one that's a marathon, not a sprint. And I want to adhere to that. But yes, and I mentioned it in the book, and I asked Terry Bradshaw for permission about that as well, too. When he was going through some challenges in his marriage, you know, he had come to me and he says, JB, can I ride home with you? I need to talk. And when we sat in front of his apartment, he said, would you mind praying? And of course I wouldn't mind praying. And we did that. That made me feel good. Probably the highest compliment that he paid me was not complimenting me on being a good host of the show and setting them up or anything having to do with the show, is when he invited me to come down to speak at his church down in Dallas, Texas. And he was so funny. Terry Bradshaw, he says, well, JB, you know, you might be the only licorice stick in church there, you know. I said, Terry, God knows no color, and it is the truth that hits the heart no matter where it is. And it was absolutely wonderful. So that was the highest compliment he paid me.
All right, the book is available. It's called Role of a Lifetime, Recollections on Faith, Family, and Significant Living. It's available nationwide. Bookstores also available online. I encourage you to get a copy. You'll learn a whole lot. JB, thank you for being with us. God bless you.
Gordon and I will be on tour very shortly, because he's awfully good. I want him with me.
We'll get the bus and go on the road. We'll be back with more of the 700 Club right after this.